All right, kids, when it comes to identity and how I see myself, it starts with me being black. Blackity, piggity, no trade back. I'm black, y'all. I'm a man, a husband, a father, and a Buckeye. Being a graduate of OSU, and especially being born and raised in Columbus, is a big part of who I am and what I do. I wear it daily. Literally. I'm fortunate enough to be a part of a community that identifies one another all over the world by screaming OH into the ether and waiting, no, expecting to hear an IO in return. This is the culture of a university that's most known for its football team and has successfully trademarked the word most frequently used in written English. We even introduce ourselves with it.
Malcolm Jenkins, The Ohio State University.
Chris Gamble, The Ohio State.
Jamarco Jones, The Ohio State.
Jake Ballard, The Ohio State.
Ted Ginn Jr., The Ohio State University.
Corey Brown, The Ohio State University.
Andrew Norwell, The Ohio State University.
Taylor Decker, The.
We're the best. And the worst. Today we will talk about The Ohio State University, the largest land-grant college in a state whose name is slang for bad or weird or cringe these days, where there has been Bigfoot sightings, plural, recently, in the big 2026. Last week I made a video about Afro Man who had been cosplaying as Don King, born in Cleveland by the way, when combating the Adams County sheriffs that were wrongfully looking for kidnapping victims in his CD cases. Anyways, I was judging small town Ohio the whole time. I was like, ugh. This is exactly why I don't be coming around. No need to even ask who all gonna be there. I won't. I can't even claim y'all. This may sound familiar to millennials who use these things as explanations and excuses as to why they don't go home to see their boomer parents on Thanksgiving. But for me, it was...
I know you're from Florida, and every time there's... You absolutely are Florida.
I'm from Miami, though.
Right, Miami, Florida?
No,
so I know
Miami-Dade
that,
County.
Right, Miami-Dade County, United States of America.
Exactly.
Right, Florida.
No.
Hey, I know I treat my city like it's the greatest place on earth. If I'm being real, and I'm allowed to say this, you're not. Columbus is a mid to large size city with no discernible identity. If an artist from here were to say, get a chance to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show, Rascal Flatts, what part of our history and tradition are they going to show off? Pizza cutting squares? How about these leaves? A chocolate peanut butter snack? They're called Buckeyes. That's part of the problem. If you need me to say it, C-Bus is an overgrown, overglorified college town. Put it on the board. Got 'em. That's how we do it. Glad I got that off my chest. But not literally. The Ohio State University is the economic engine of this place. It drives industry and commerce. And in many ways, Leslie Wexner is behind the wheel at OSU. I made a video about Les Wexner last year because it seemed like nationally, people didn't know who he is, let alone what his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was. Wexner either made Victoria's Secret, Slow Songs Are for Skinny Hoes, Pink, Bath and Body Works, Abercrombie and Fitch, Lane Bryant, They Need Tempo, or made them what they are. And that's just to name a few. And while I'm not going to focus on Wexner today, instead opting for other people in power or high places or politicians, a lot points back to him. I guess it's foolish pride preventing me from dedicating so many words to a man who can get away with saying so few.
It was just regularly done. Answer the question. Okay.
Embarrassing. Let's get started with former OSU president Ted Carter, who was allowed to resign from his position instead of getting fired just last month as of me recording this. Carter admitted to having an inappropriate relationship with the host of a podcast that he was a frequent flyer on. He also confessed to giving inappropriate access to Ohio State leadership to that woman who wanted help with her business. Ted Carter, 66, who has been married to his wife Linda for nearly 45 years, served as a Top Gun pilot and instructor during 38 years in the Navy following his graduation from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1981. So, he is what Tom Cruise pretends to be in movies, not in a cult and straight. Despite all that, and a salary of $1.5 million while at OSU, Carter might have been willing to risk it all for Chrysanthi Vlachos. And you know you're down bad as a community when news like this drops and you're relieved that this did not involve an old man married with children getting involved with a student or a girl in their late teens, early 20s. Ain't that right, Michigan? Oh, we cover up M's around here during Michigan Week, but you can never cover up what you've done. Not all scandals are created equal. Neither of us has much room to talk. Carter last appeared on the veterans-focused The Call Out podcast on January 7th, and he must have been riveted by the host's way with words.
It's important everyone understands because there are many countries in this world where it's not a choice.
Right.
And it's it's required.
Right.
So it's mind-boggling to think only 1% of our people volunteer to protect us across the globe.
Yep. Yep.
And then the other interesting parallel.
Jobs Ohio paid her $60,000 to produce 4 episodes of that podcast. $15,000 each, but only one was created, so Jobs Ohio might be looking to get their money back. And going back to the top of this episode and my identity, well, no, I don't want to make this about myself. So if Jobs Ohio wants content created, I know a guy who makes a pretty good and underrated YouTube channel out of Central Ohio who could be contracted. That company would essentially be funding themselves being called mother just in case there are things happening behind the scenes that he doesn't know about yet and he doesn't want to be caught lacking. Or just due to whatever he's fretting about that week. But it would be much better than what I just showed you. OSU spent around $500,000 to a third party to find Ted Carter. Pennies when searching for someone to oversee a budget of $11.5 billion. And although he was only around for 2 years, Carter made his time count. He presided over the university when OSU won the College Football Playoffs national championship. He also caved to Trump when it came to OSU's DEI initiatives. He banned chalking on campus in the midst of pro-Palestine protests and took it upon himself to nominate this dude to do the 2024 commencement speech.
So I know this might feel polarizing, but I encourage you to keep an open mind right now. I see Bitcoin as a very misunderstood asset class. It's decentralized and finite, which means no government can print more at will. He
graduated from OSU in 1999, and now he's introducing a crypto scheme and also performing 2 songs and doing a magic trick on stage in front of the impressionable, communist left young adults. He later admitted to writing drafts of his speech while high on ayahuasca. They could have paid me You should know that OSU hired a new president, its 4th in like 7 years, and he's brown. I'm assuming he knows what glass cliffs are because he's inheriting a situation where students, along with faculty and staff, are demanding answers and wondering why Les Wexner's name remains on the football complex and the medical center and the Center for Arts, a place that I worked at when I was a student. Seeing how they can't express themselves through chalk, young adults have been using spray paint and tape to say they want to oust Wexner and asking questions when they can.
Just one more. No. Whoa.
Oh,
God! I told you not to put that in my face. I didn't.
Dude, you can't do that.
Yes, you did. No, I'm not going to ask you again.
Don't
touch me. Don't touch me, motherfucker. Who the fuck put your hands on me, sir? You put your hands on me, sir. Oh, God. Damn, dude. You shoved that camera into my face, sir.
On February 9th, Luke Perez, an assistant professor, was placed on administrative leave when he assaulted Columbus filmmaker Mike Newman. This took place after one of Perez's classes, Profiles in American Leadership. Can't make this stuff up. The course includes a series of guest lecturers, and E. Gordon Gee, the 2-time former Ohio State president who is currently serving as a consultant, held a session. Newman and the Ohio Rooster, DJ Burns, whose work I've used in the past and in this video, both separately wanted to speak to Gee concerning his recent comments about survivors of sexual abuse engaging in cancel culture by wanting Leslie Wexner deposed in the class action lawsuit against Ohio State. And when you can afford to buy every single student's school loans, You can't be canceled. Gee was mentioned 33 times in the Perkins-Coie LLP report, which cites him for negligence in handling allegations against Dr. Strauss, who was or wasn't removed from his physician roles in 1996. Gee allowed him to retire. Strauss then opened a men's clinic off campus where he continued to abuse people. He maintained emeritus status with the university until his death by suicide in 2025. See, E. Gordon Gee may look like the fairy godfather of football, but it's bippity boppity boy. My wife and I have a picture with him after she graduated. His first term as president overlapped with Dr. Richard Strauss. Gee is quoted as saying he doesn't remember much of anything about that era. And how? Does he not have a TV?
He sexually abused football players, wrestlers, tennis players, hockey players, fencers. He sexually abused students who were not athletes, whom he saw in student health services. He did this repeatedly. He did it right under the nose of OSU. And the whole thing might have just died away forever.
That's a clip from Surviving Ohio State, a documentary from Max, HBO. HBO Max, the fresh maker. Dr. Strauss worked as a physician for OSU's athletics department and also at the Student Health Center. A university commission investigation found that between 1979 and 1996, Strauss sexually abused at least 177 mostly male victims, usually under the guise of medical treatment. And there's no way that number is right. Speaking of getting lowballed, and not that this ultimately matters, Ohio State settlement program says that its average payment to survivors is not to exceed about $252,000. Additionally, the settlement agreement notes that it is not an admission of guilt from OSU. Meanwhile, the University of Michigan and attorneys for approximately 1,050 claimants who have alleged abuse by the late UM physician Robert E. Anderson reached an agreement for $460 million. That's nearly $442,000 per. Circumstances were different, sure, but at least Larry Nassar's victims got some degree of justice. It was his televised trial which led to survivors of Strauss, victims of OSU, to feel further emboldened, to get on the front lines, one way or another.
In 2010, when I was deployed to Iraq, I had to lie about who I was because I'm a gay soldier, and I didn't want to lose my job. My question is, under one of your presidencies, do you intend to circumvent the progress that's been made for gay and lesbian soldiers in the military?
That was a big room full of Republican primary voters booing an American combat soldier who, as he was speaking, was in combat. The audience members who were booing were in Orlando. Soon they'll surely be in hell, though not soon enough.
Seen on Max, the Everything app. Even though that was a fictional depiction from The Newsroom, a TV show, what was seen on the screen was real. Stephen Snyder-Hill, an Ohio State alum and U.S. Army major who served under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, was given the opportunity to ask a question from combat during the 2011 Republican Party presidential debate. And before I continue, yes, there were a handful of boos at what Snyder-Hill asked. Some would say that the few audience members don't represent the many in that situation, let alone all Republicans. Well, Rick Santorum said that he would reinstate the ban on openly gay people serving in the military, and the audience cheered. So, look, nobody in that arena, not even the presidential hopefuls, spoke up for or about the rights, respect, or resources of military personnel. Ask yourself if this soldier was even applauded when he appeared on screen before he even started talking. So on January 5th, 1995, Stephen Snyder-Hill went to go see Dr. Strauss in order to get a lump on his chest looked at. That's when Strauss conducted a testicular and anal examination and then began to press himself on the student's side. The next day, Snyder-Hill filed a written complaint. From there, just like with hundreds of other individuals, Stephen was gaslit. My alma mater either enabled Richard Strauss's alleged crimes or they were complicit in them. Full stop. Stephen Snyder-Hill later became the lead plaintiff in lawsuits against the university in 2018. Over the years, statute of limitations elapsed, OSU withheld documents, lobbied against Strauss's victims behind the scenes, and people put their reputations on the line in a time when those who had the power to do something about pedos didn't, yet progressed to higher positions.
Jim Jordan called me crying. Groveling on the 4th of July, begging me to go against my brother. Begging me. Crying for a half hour. That's the kind of cover-ups that's going on there.
Adam DiSabato, who was a champion wrestler at OSU, told members of the Ohio Civil Justice Committee that Jim Jordan was in tears when he called on July 4th, 2018, a day after NBC News broke the abuse story. Jim Jordan was an assistant wrestling coach at OSU from 1986 to 1994 before he became a congressman out of Ohio in the district north of mine. He's not my representative. Joyce Beatty is. I don't want to be in politics whatsoever, but I sense that I should run against her out of spite. And real quick, Jordan has introduced just over 30 bills in total throughout his time in office. Since 2007, as of 2023, he had amended a single bill regarding renewable energy and biofuel. Now, he has co-sponsored around 1,000 pieces of legislation. However, co-sponsoring simply means formally signing on to support a bill that doesn't necessarily imply that a member of Congress had any involvement with its creation. 70 of those became law. A few of them were merely to name government buildings. The point is, Jim Jordan has done nothing for his constituents, unless being a MAGA firebrand is actually for them and that's why they elected him. I assume it's them that he's convincing when he repeatedly denies that he knows nothing about any abuse on the part of Richard Strauss. He ain't doing nothing for these survivors. He said that if he knew, he would have reported it. And let's get something clear. Based on what we've learned about the Epstein files and who is named in them the most, none of this would kill his political career. Mike DiSabato, whistleblower and brother of Adam, claims that Jordan knew about the unnecessary and inappropriate examinations of students' bathing suit areas, as well as when the doctor took showers and saunas with the team. Jim has acknowledged that showers were taken together as a team. That was commonplace at the time. And maybe I missed it, but to watch a high-profile lawmaker, not so much as we're all trying to find the guy who did this his way through, is weird and wrong. After all this, I've been reassessing what it means to be a Buckeye, and I hope I'm not the only one. With that said,
We are thee. Les Wexner is not thee. He will never be thee. He can pay all the money he wants to pay, but he never played on a field that actually built these buildings.
Again, I've already made a video about Wexner's ties to Epstein and how he hasn't been bound to them. I'm not going to rehash that here, but what I want to add is former Abercrombie & Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries. He was indicted on 16 federal charges in October of 2024, including sex trafficking and prostitution. Jeffries worked for the company from 1992 to 2014 and was hired by Les Wexner. Jeffries, along with his partner Mike Smith and one other middleman, have been accused of recruiting young men for sex events. They have pled not guilty to the charges, which carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. Mike Jeffries was recorded telling Smith, "We're screwed and in big trouble," if he was found fit to stand trial. Jeffries said he is hoping for a good outcome, describing being found fit as a disaster, and tells a doctor, "You better find me incompetent." There's a podcast series called World of Secrets, Season 1, The Abercrombie Guys on BBC, as well as a documentary called White Hot, The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie & Fitch, just in case people forget. It was recently reported that Jeffrey Epstein gave quarterly payments to the head of Ohio State University's gynecology department Dr. Mark Landon. The OBGYN at the school's Wexner Medical Center allegedly received as much as $25,000 per payment for an unspecified period in the early 2000s. In email correspondence, somebody named Eric said that he had billed LHW/Abigail for the $25,000. Could that stand for Leslie Herbert Wexner, whose wife's name is Abigail? Neither Wexner nor Dr. Landon has been accused of any wrongdoing in connection with the Epstein case, and both of them have claimed that they had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes. I find it hard to believe that one LHW could hire and be surrounded by or have up under him or be acquainted with many men who groomed and indoctrinated and took advantage of young boys and girls, yet not have any awareness of it. Any of it. It's kind of like when a former Michigan head football coach claimed that he had no idea that there was a staff member conducting a sophisticated cheating scandal on a team that he led, even if he didn't want it or ask for it or somehow didn't know. It shows gross negligence, a lack of institutional control. Might be a bad example because Harbaugh got out before receiving consequences. Their national championship still stands. Not that I want it taken away. The reason why I keep bringing up that team up north is to show and prove that rampant nonsense is all over the place. Ann Arbor has been going through it the last few years, and most of it is due to that university. And I don't think folks hate their hometowns enough. That is, if your city stands for nothing. I'm embarrassed of mine and my college. And trust me, I can do bad all by myself. I can't stress enough. I'm from Columbus, not Ohio. Kind of a cop-out to keep my complaints within the university district. Yo, Afro Man could have made those same songs about the Columbus Police Department and they would fit perfectly. And they would probably still be anti-queer and homophobic. What is that about? It should come as no surprise that I feel like Wexner's name should be removed from buildings all across the campus of The Ohio State University, at least until we get more answers. If this move makes other boosters and donors second guess their giving and philanthropy to OSU, then too many might be under the impression that silence is for sale. As for you, watch the documentaries I've already brought up. Listen to podcasts and the victim's testimony. OSU staff, faculty, students, former and future, keep up the pressure. We want subpoenas, depositions, court hearings, real investigations, arrests, charges, convictions. You've already earned your stripes or had your black one removed. If you know, you know. You deserve a Buckeye leaf. We gonna be all right.